Welcome back to Total Disclosure by Pop Culture Corner. Today, we're gonna be having a lot of fun with the paranormal, UFOs, and basically all the otherworldly. I got my guys from the UK coming over. Speaking of the UK, the actual podcast. So back when I did mainly pop culture stuff, movies, TV. My audience was 98% United States based, and it was like 99.9% male. And ever since I kind of, started making the sprinkle change, it's dropped significantly from 98 to 78% United States based. And the UK is a second place with like, 13, 14%. No, that would be way too much. 7 or 8%, which is just good to see. There's such a demand for this stuff in the UK, and I definitely love having them. The guys over there, the girls over there. That UAP girl this Saturday will be joining us. So lots of UK. The time difference sucks. Definitely sucks. But it's great. I love those guys. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. And if you want to support the channel further, become a member. All the links are in the description below. Don't forget to try out our sponsors like TubeBuddy. If you're a content creator, super supportive, helpful. SEO titles, thumbnail creation, video ideas, all that analytical side of stuff is all taken care of. It's just such a healthy tool for a creator on the go. As well as Movie Palette. Use code CultureCorner15 for 15% off your order now. Don't forget, it's Black Friday. So if you want to get your movie fan something to bring the room together, look, I got this one, Captain America Winter Soldier. You wouldn't even know that's fucking nerdy, right? So you don't even have to tell your girlfriend that it's nerdy. It brings a room together. You know it. You know it's nerdy, but she doesn't. So it's all good in the hood. Today we're joined by Ben from the 401 Files, as well as Greg from the Pursuit of Paranormal podcast. Boys, what's up?
Hello. How are we doing?
That was a mouthful on my part.
Yeah, all good this side. All this good. It's been raining all day in the UK, like literally all day.
The way I see rain is like, I don't know if it's that sounded. You know what's weird is that sound. When I said rain, it sounded like rain.
It did sound like
I was
rain.
like, I got a little creeped out, to be honest.
Got some good sound effects.
But I fucking hate the snow. So anything that's not the snow, I'm okay with. In the UK, your climate's very similar to ours. So Greg, what's been going on lately? I see you've had a couple cool videos come out. So what have you been up to in the days since we saw you last?
So been mainly recording podcasts. We've started a new pub crawl around the UK where we visit haunted pubs in the UK.
That's the one I wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
I wanted you to bring it up. So how did that come about? Is that something that's like sponsored by the area, or did you put it together?
No, we did. So for the last year, so 50 weeks, we've been doing a different state in the US and talking about all the paranormal happenings, A to Z of the United States. Obviously, we come to the end of that and we decided we're going to do a pub crawl of the UK because there's loads of haunted pubs in the UK. And we're doing it from John O'Groats in the top of Scotland down to Land's End. So, and just sort of visiting loads of pubs on the way down, and just short form episode of like 10-15 minutes of us talking about paranormal stuff that are associated with that particular pub.
Now, what classifies, so how did you categorize what is a haunted pub? Like, does it have to be, this many, reports, or how did you come up with this?
Just any story, any pub that's got most pubs in the UK, or a lot of the sort of the oldie pubs, anything like 300-400 years old.
Really?
So generally,
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, so there's a lot of places over there that are really old.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the chances are that most of those kinds of pubs or inns or taverns or whatever have had some sort of patron who's been there for years, died, and they just come back and spend most of their time frequenting the pub after death. So yeah, it's
I mean, it sounds
there's,
really cool.
there's only like there's a lot of it's unsubstantiated, so it's kind of like hearsay stories rather
Right.
than factual stuff.
Right.
But we just have a hunt round, get a story, and go with it.
And we're joined by someone that you know,
Yes,
Mike from
yes,
Mike Earl, right? So,
yes.
That's me.
Mike, what's going on?
Hey man, nice to meet you. I guess Greg's just sent me a massively impromptu message going, "What are you doing right now?" And I was like, "Nothing really." So here I am.
I think the words were "fuck yeah." I'll be on in a minute.
Oh man, like
So just to give you an intro to both Ben and Mike. So Ben does the 401 files, and we've guested on his YouTube channel over the last couple of years. He's been a friend of the shows and has come on our show as well. And we've talked all things UFO, paranormal. We've gone through Jesus being a hybrid alien. We've gone full spectrum of everything.
Right.
And then Mike has been a long time supporter of the podcast. And then me and him went out on a paranormal investigation together in the local. We live fairly close to each other. Mike has been a great supporter of the show and also writes articles for our for the website. So paranormal related articles, which have been great, and they've been well received, and they've been popping those up. And also he's got his own YouTube channel, Instagram, everything's under Paramike, at Paramike.
medium.
Oh, and it's medium. So
I have a couple.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, mate.
yes.
Yeah.
Cool. I think I started it.
Just before we go any further, Ty, do we allow or do you allow swearing on here?
Oh fuck yeah, man! Fuck yeah.
Okay, good.
I've been smoking weed and all sorts on previous editions.
I took mushrooms on the last podcast.
You did. You took
I
mushrooms.
took mushrooms on the last one.
When's Elon Musk turning up?
I really, there's something about the freedom, because when I used to do the movie based content, you had to really stick to a certain script and toe a really PG line. So the fact that I've been kind of let loose, dude, my dad is even watching the show now. He never used to call me and be like, "Hey, I watched your show on fucking Batman," but anytime I talk about, UFOs or secret technology, he's like, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot. All of that shit's fake." But we're having a conversation, so it's kind of brought us together. It's weird.
And could it be because the whole subject of the paranormal is kind of taboo in a sense? Because, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm kind of scared of telling people that, I go ghost hunting or whatever, because I kind of fear they'll be like, "You believe in that shit?" You know what I mean? And you're a bit like, I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely have a hard, and for you guys especially, which I want to start with, is with, I talked about the audience percentages, how it's drastically changed for me. And seems like there's this big demand for this conversation where you guys live. Why hasn't your government done a better job of maybe having that conversation?
So we in the UK, the UFOs don't get as much traction as they do in the US, but also the ghosts, yes, because we've got a very rich history of the paranormal.
Mate,
However,
you've seen it before, like articles in one of the newspapers where it's like, "I'm married to a poltergeist," and it's like, what are you on about?
yeah, we get all weird stuff. The woman that got married to a ghost, didn't she get divorced because he was cheating on her or something? That is the state of play of the UK media when it comes to paranormal. Not so much UFOs now. They're
you look at it as well, like Phil and Holly on This Morning often have like mediums or paranormal-ish people on there. They recently had some guys from up north call themselves the Occult Hauntings, but at the time they were calling themselves the Real Life Adams Family because they go ghost hunting with their two
I've
young
seen them.
daughters. You've seen them? They
Yeah.
had to change their name, I presume, because they got stung for copyright. But yeah, he bought a hearse and it was all kitted out like all the stuff, and they were traveling around the UK ghost hunting with their two young daughters, and apparently they've got like a ghost daughter that's attached to them as well. And it's just like, and they were on like mainstream morning television talking about it.
Yeah.
They drove the hearse into the studios. Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah, definitely. Then we've had the likes of Tim Peake, the UK astronaut, talking about our aliens, future humans. So it's and then that's taken quite seriously on the same TV program as well. Then on that same TV program, it's called, is it This Morning or something like that?
Yeah, it was this morning.
Then we had the people from the Enfield poltergeist case. They were also have been on with Phil and Holly talking about their experiences with the Enfield poltergeist. So yeah, we get all sorts of stuff. Sometimes it's ridiculed and sometimes it's not. I think it just depends on the nature of the story and how the media can twist it a little bit. But like the Addams family is perfect. The Addams family is perfect to be twisted and made it more of a joke than.
They got a ton of traction for it as well.
Yeah,
like as I say, all their socials became like the Real Life Addams Family, and
Yeah.
they got a ton of. Well, the fact that off the back of that they ended up on national newspapers and on This Morning sort of thing. Some of the funny ones though are like when they'll bring on a medium,
Yeah,
and then they'll bring on a skeptic as well.
Oh,
And the skeptic, the one I've seen, the skeptic like basically goes through this entire cold reading script, and Holly basically says to him, "You've just pretty much described me, but it's all things like you've got a scar on one of your knees, probably on your left knee, blah blah," which describes 90% of the public. And the medium woman's just like, "Oh, I don't know what he's doing because I'm a genuine medium. I've never heard of cold reading." And I'm like, "Fair enough, but."
Now, wait. Can you explain that a little bit? Because I didn't necessarily get it.
How do you mean? Say cold reading. So cold reading is if I was
now,
to
what's
say,
a cold reading?
Okay, Ty. Total disclosure? What's your name, dude?
Ty. You can just call me Ty.
Your name is Ty. Okay, your name's now Ty. Cool. So if I was to say, you're quite an insular person, but sometimes you like to dress up and really let loose and be the life of the party and have attention on you. That'll probably be like a correct statement for yourself, right?
To a degree, yes.
Yeah. So that's a form of cold reading where basically you say what are called
generalized
Barnum statements, and there's like 12 popular Barnum statements that you can say, and they will apply to almost every human being on the planet. And that's essentially what cold reading was. It would be if I was to say like, "Oh, I'm having someone come through for you, Ty, he's in a military uniform. He's an elderly gentleman, potentially a grandfather." Now, these are like the common threads through society that the vast majority of people alive nowadays, their grandfather would have been in World War II or would have maybe served in the military or something, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just things like that. It's just generalized things that you could apply to everyone.
Okay, that makes much more sense. So I get that. So cold reading. Okay. So the medium was saying to the cold reader, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, the medium was like, he said, the skeptic was basically saying it's all cold reading and listed a bunch of stuff. And one of the hosts, when you've pretty much just described me via cold reading, but then the medium turns around and goes, "Well, I don't do that because I didn't even know what cold reading is before I turned up today." And I was just,
I see your skepticism now.
my objective mind is like, from my own personal experience, if you're a medium, you need to know what the fuck goes on. Because there's been times where I've done readings for people and I'll say something and then immediately quantify it and say, but that's very generic. So it could apply to anyone. And I'll be like, well, I don't want to be seen to go, "Oh, I've got an elderly lady here. She's got grey hair. She's about 5 foot. She likes baking." Do you know what I mean? That's most grandmothers.
Right. Now, what do you guys all the paranormal is something that you encompass into, because maybe whereas I see the UFO topic as one thing, you guys kind of see it as a like a onion, like a layered subject. How do you guys think the paranormal relates to the phenomenon of UFOs and whoever is piloting them?
So it depends on how you class the paranormal. So if you class the ghost as some kind of interdimensional entity rather than spirit of someone who's dead, for example, that ties in nicely to the UFOs and UAPs, where they can instantly appear or disappear because they're essentially changing frequency and just shifting out of the dimension. That also covers off cryptids as well, because in the UK, like we were mentioning offline, there is the wild man, which Ben goes out and hunts, for want of a better phrase, but goes to the places where the wild man is seen. And there's always a thought that the UK is too small to have a kind of a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or whatever you want to call it. But the interdimensional side of it ticks that box, because if it just shifts out of this dimension, it doesn't need any space. There's loads of times where the UFOs and paranormal occurrences happen at the same time around ley lines.
Right.
So we've got loads of ley lines in the UK. There's a lot of paranormal hotspots in the UK around ley lines. And there's also UFOs are spotted around these kind of areas. They tend to be there. And along with the UFOs, it's the cryptids. So a lot of people say there's a heightened sightings of Bigfoot, for example, especially in the US as well, where UFOs are there tends to be like a hotspot for both of those at the same time. But also the paranormal is something whereby you've got people that have poltergeist experiences early on in life, also experience like a UFO related activities in sort of later lives as
Or
they're
vice
growing up,
versa.
or
Which is
vice versa.
something Which is something, by the way, that I did not know until recently, was that a lot of Bigfoot sightings or wild man or whatever you want to call it, the sightings, they happen and they correlate to some sort of UFO sighting. And, to some degree, the two have been, they're interchangeable. Are these creatures or animals or beings, are they the pilot? Are they the cargo? Are they this or that? Do you guys have a theory on that?
This is definitely more of a Greg one, because I'm in the same boat as you, that I only got into the paranormal about a year ago via a personal experience, discovered Pursuit of the Paranormal, and hadn't even considered that. Yeah, for sure. Hadn't even considered that Bigfoot Sasquatch could be extraterrestrial or interdimensional until it started getting mentioned on Greg's podcast and in other places. And it was like, you start hearing stories about. I'm sorry if this wasn't you, Greg. There was a podcast I listened to.
It better be me.
You're the only one I listen to, honest. There was a podcast I listened to where they had an interview with a hunter who'd hunted bear for years. And
That's not my podcast.
Is it not? Okay. It may have been another one. He'd hunted bear for years and had started to have experiences with Bigfoot because he was out in the forest so much.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that one of the big things that kept coming up is like, oh, if Bigfoot existed, you'd have found bodies of them by now. And he's like, I've hunted bear for years. We know that bears exist. It's so rare that you'll come across a bear carcass in the wild. And also stories like he saw this Bigfoot, it ran from him, he chased it, and it sort of went into some shrubbery or a bush. And as he followed it through, it just completely disappeared and the footsteps stopped. And that's when, like, Greg's podcast reinforced it. That's where I started going, well, hell, this really does make sense. They could be interdimensional. And
Right.
a lot of stuff can be put down to the whole interdimensional theory, right? Like as you
Right,
say,
right.
ghosts and spirits, and
So
Yeah.
we've spoken to people who said that we spoke to a demonologist, and he claims that fallen angels and demons, for example, are actually the greys and grey aliens.
Well, you
That-
know what's crazy, and just to kind of not to veer here, but you know when they talk, did you guys see Moment of Contact with James
Yep.
Fox? So the smell of sulfur that was with the
with the
being
creatures, yeah.
is often associated. Sulfur is often associated with the smell that a demon will have
Yeah.
or leave behind.
yeah,
Or
absolutely.
some. So is there you know like stuff starts stacking on, and you're like, coincidence? I don't know. I don't
It's
know.
quite it's an odd smell to be
Yeah,
Very
like-
odd. It's like a rotten egg
it's pretty
ammonia
distinguishable, right?
smell.
Mm.
Yeah, very distinguishable.
But this is like when private conversations and stuff as well. Me and Greg, the amount of times we've said about synchronicity and coincidences, and one of the big things as I was getting into the paranormal was it was like, when does it become too coincidental to be coincidental, right? Like when things start lining up a certain way, I started kind of going, well, hang on a minute, there's got to be something more to this.
Right. And would you I know you said you had your own experience, but would you guys say that the paranormal is something people should be scared around, or is it something they should embrace like the UFO culture?
Over to you,
Right.
Mike.
Okay. There's that polite Britishness again.
You first. No, you first.
Sound like fucking Canadians.
How dare you?
Is paranormal something people should be scared of?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. I've not been in it long enough to know. Like I've had.
Does it scare you? Like when
Generally
you're alone and it's dark, and you know, do you ever get a little bit nervous that all you do, you know, for me, all I do is talk about this shit now, and like
Right.
I notice it's taken front and center in my life to a degree where, you know, like if I was someone else, maybe they would be a little nervous and start maybe getting paranoid, right?
Yeah.
I could see why people go crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
Before I went on my first like paranormal investigation, I did not want to do a Ouija board. I thought that stuff is weird shit. I'm invoking demons. People are gonna I'm gonna be followed home. All
Right.
that kind of stuff. I done one, and I was like, well, this ain't very scary at all. I went on paranormal investigations, and I thought, oh my god, what am I? They were doing all these like protection spells and all this kind of stuff before we even started. I do them with the paranormal group I belong to, and even been with Mike to places, and it's just like, why? What? No, no.
As
Do
a
they
counter,
follow like? You guys use a lot of Enochian stuff with paranormal investigations?
like the angel language thing, you mean, or
Yeah, like there's a lot of Enochian like protection, or at least
don't
that's the
think so.
lore.
I don't do any protection stuff.
No, I generally don't either. But as a massive counterpoint to what Greg's just said about loving a Ouija board and not caring what happens to him, me and Patsy, my partner, have basically sworn that we'll never use one. Just through like the amount of horror stories we've heard about people who've used Ouija boards, and a lot of it is probably absolute bollocks or bullshit for Ty, as he's American. A lot of it is probably bullshit, but if there's that 0.01% chance that some of it's real, it's not something I want to get involved in. And then the weird thing was we were on holiday up north earlier this year, and I think I said this on your podcast, Greg, where like we saw a sign outside a shop that said like tarot readings £30, and we were like, oh yeah, we're on holiday, let's have a tarot reading. And the lady didn't actually end up doing a tarot reading for me because she was like, we just started talking about mediumship and psychic and stuff, and she, without any prompting, turned and went, don't touch Ouija boards, they won't do you any good. And I was just like, that reinforces what I thought anyway.
Right, the final
Oh,
nail
man.
in the
Why are you
coffin.
laughing, man?
So I'm staying in a hotel at the moment, following
And you're
a
doing
change
them
in my personal circumstances.
and you're having a
And
Ouija board every night.
I've got a Ouija board in there at the moment. I've got a spirit box. I carry around a spirit box in my my rucksack, which has got my MacBook in, and I've got not in there at the moment because I'm at work, and that would be quite weird. I haven't got the Ouija board there, but I've got that back in the hotel room, and I'm tempted. It's a travel lodge, so all manner of weird shit's probably gone down in that room.
Already fucked, mate.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's
Can you do it with one person though? Or you
not
get like
supposed to.
the night porter in to be like, "Hey mate, do you fancy go on this?" Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been to a travel lodge, but there's like one person.
What's a night porter?
Yeah.
So yeah. So I just want to update. So Ben is having a little issue, and he is going to back out, and we're going to schedule something for the future. Tonight we'll do the three of us. Good, backup guest, Mr. Mike here, and it seems like you're
never a
plenty.
backup, Mike. You're never a backup.
You're a star.
The bench warmer. The bench warmer.
No. But we'll have an engaging conversation here, and then we'll do it again another night.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
man.
definitely.
But continue.
Where were we?
I don't remember.
So
Greg's got his.
I've got my Ouija board in at the
You got
travel
your
lodge.
Lesser
Oh,
Keir
yes,
Solomon out.
Yeah.
You're fucking doing all your rituals.
So I don't take any notice of casting like spells to keep me safe. I just think it because I'm pretty much a skeptic of all of this. I believe in it, but I'm waiting for that wow moment.
Right.
Because
right.
like with the UFOs, there's that wow signal that came.
Yes.
I'm waiting for that wow moment in the paranormal. I'm waiting for the wow moment with the UFOs. I'm waiting for that moment. Can just go. You know what? That's it. I am a true believer. But I listened to so many podcasts. I listened to so many people's accounts of what's happening to them across the last couple of years doing the podcast. And I'm like, I haven't experienced any of that.
Right.
I've had a few weird experiences, but nothing I would go, wow.
Nothing you'd call mom about. Yeah.
No, exactly.
And do you think that that's a problem?
No. I think it allows me to remain focused on the goal of like being
getting that moment
impartial.
Yeah.
So we speak to people that I've spoken to somebody who lived on a skinwalker type ranch, Stardust Ranch, John Edmonds. So I think we spoke about him last time I was on. And the story is so outrageous. It's so outrageous. And you say it, if you say it out loud and you go, holy shit, if 1% of that is real, or any of those experiences is real, that's crazy as in itself.
Right.
But I think by not having those moments myself and listening to everybody, I can be impartial in my view. So on our podcast, we just sort of, we listen, we ask questions, and we make no judgment. And I think because I'm not sucked into the fact that, oh yeah, I've had this abduction experience myself, for example, then I don't get swept up trying to lead a question or sort of prompting them to say, oh, what about this? What about this?
Right.
Whereas we'll just ask an open question. And I think for me, that allows me to remain skeptical.
Right. And I do agree. Would you rather have had, would you trade
I would love
that?
to.
Yeah.
I would love to. Love to. Like
No,
me and Mike have been out and we went to a local place, Minster Lovell Hall. It's like a ruins, and the guy was one of the richest men in England at one point, and I don't know if he was going to be prime minister or something. And he had a death of his girlfriend on Christmas Eve whilst playing hide and seek. So it's quite a weird story anyway, and that's local to us. So we've got the ruins of this building down by us. So me and Mike went there. We done spirit box sessions and
Right.
all manner of experiments to try and see if we can communicate or get some kind of evidence. And I would really love. I think that's what keeps me going, though. The fact that I've not had the experience, I'm waiting for that moment. And like people who
Right.
chase UFOs and Bigfoot, if they saw Bigfoot all the time, they probably just lose interest.
Right.
This
If,
is
yeah, if
this,
it became as normal as having a cup of coffee, right? There's no more allure.
Yeah.
this is absolutely the thing, right? Although because the paranormal, much like itself, is such an unknown quantity, whenever you go on an investigation, you can never predict what's going to happen. And the funny thing that me and Patsy find is the ones that we're a bit like not really feeling it, they're normally the ones that are really good. Now, whether that's a question of expectation versus reality, it's
Right.
probably a massive thing. But when we've been to like East Drive and the Ancient Ram, and we're like, yeah, fucking most haunted place in the UK, and then it's just kind of been a bit and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, well.
Yeah.
But it's true what people say. Like we've been to both, not had like mind blowing or amazing amounts of activity there, but we've both sort of said they're places that we really love to go back to because it feels like there's definitely more to explore.
Yeah. I used to do, it's ironic because I got a love. I found a love for exploring abandoned and supposedly haunted places when I was younger. I got a chance to go inside the famous, Needham Asylum before they tore it down. I've gotten to some pretty fucking cool places, but I wish I had the knowledge that I do now versus then, because I would have tried to invoke something. Like when I was younger, I just went there and you try to get in and out without dying. Right? That's like the goal. So
Or arrested.
Yeah, or arrested. Dude, there's a mansion in Weymouth. I don't know, one of those W's in the area. And I was I had to sit on the roof of this building for 3 hours while the police walked around and looked for us. And it was the worst night I've ever had. You're just sitting on the roof like, am I going to get caught in a minute? Are they going to come right up the stairs and be like, that's the end of it. So you were on the edge of like that fucking, oh God, it was terrible. It was terrible.
And it's one of those things as well, like if you get caught in that situation, there is nothing you can say that's going to
I was
give you the
baking
benefit of the
cookies.
doubt. Well, you know what I mean?
No, you
Like,
weren't.
there was a video I watched recently of a couple of guys on YouTube who did a similar thing. They basically went to an abandoned place and they're doing ghost hunting and stuff. And then while they're there, a fire broke out.
Wow.
And all of a sudden there's like firemen around the place and like 5 security guards, and they're in there going, we've got to get the fuck out of here, we're gonna just have to run for it.
Right.
And they were like, if we were caught, you're immediately getting accused of arson. If
you were there and a fire started.
Yeah, they're like, fuck me, like how
That's
do we get
all
away
the
with
evidence they would need in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh
definitely.
God, and arson is no small charge.
Easily going down, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's buried in. I don't know about where you are, but here they ask 2 things: are you a fucking child molester, and do you burn shit down? And if you answer yes to either of those, you're.
To be fair, you probably get like 2 weeks in the British legal system for it. But
yeah, and then get out after a week.
Yeah. Good behavior.
Yeah. Here, arson follows you everywhere. Arson is up there with child. Like, legitimately,
Really?
I hate to say it, but arson is probably a worse charge than most violent crimes in America.
But you've also got, I'm not sure state by state, but you've also got the 3-strike rule in America, right?
Yes.
Where you're fucked if you get done for 3 strikes. You're never coming out.
Yep. You're literally never coming out.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you could say, say what you want about harsh punishments, but if you get arrested for 3 violent crimes, there's something growing inside you, at least to the minimum. Like you've gotten arrested for 3 crimes that people don't even, they go 300 years, 400 years they could go without ever even thinking of doing something like that. So, you know, it is what it is. I know I'm not gonna have trouble with the 3-law rule,
Yeah,
right? So
probably not. We should probably get
I'm
back to the
squeaky
paranormal
clean.
rather than.
I'm squeaky clean. I am.
yeah, and but that
Never been caught for anything yet.
I wouldn't want to get caught doing something stupid, like, at 30 years old, getting caught in a abandoned mansion. Like, you're just like, at some point you're too old to
Yeah,
try to explain that. And
Yeah.
and again, I think, that is there's a stigma around all of this, but that's when I don't think anyone would want to explain. Hey, I was in there and it caught fire,
yeah,
right? I
yeah.
swear it wasn't me though.
There's nothing you can say. Like,
Yeah.
No, not even in
So,
the UK would they believe you.
no, God, no.
But
You know what I was
I do want
talking?
to. Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
Sorry. I'll save mine because I'm going to drastically change where this goes. So you go first.
So I was going to say, your first question was around like the paranormal, UFOs, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So if you look at Skinwalker Ranch, that's probably one of the best examples. Stardust Ranches as well, but Skinwalker Ranch, whereby there's paranormal activity, there is UFO activity, there is encrypted activity as well, and that all comes, in my mind, comes under the same thing. Like, I've listened to a podcast, and there's a guy, and he was one of the security guards for BAS, which is Bigelow Aerospace Security, and they were part of. And Bigelow was part of ORSAP and ATIP and everything with you. Yeah. So this guy spent a couple of years on Skinwalker Ranch on his own most of the time. And they're basically, you're on your own, just keep it safe.
Yeah.
And he was interacting with some kind of paranormal entity in one of the homestead buildings. Now, that doesn't come out in the TV program. But I'll send you the link, Mike, for the podcast. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
This guy, he's trying to communicate, and he's doing experiments with this, essentially a poltergeist,
Right.
at Skinwalker Ranch. So there is big connections. If you read Skinwalkers at the Pentagon book, and it's about the follow-up to Hunt for the Skinwalker and all the events on Skinwalker Ranch, that people experience like hitchhiker syndrome and hitchhiker effect, where they take stuff back from Skinwalker Ranch. Then their relatives will have it. Like, there's lots of people who have been to Skinwalker Ranch and they see like dark figures in their bedroom overnight. And then
I talked to Caleb so Caleb is currently security there and is a friend of mine, and he talked about hitchhiker effect, and so doesn't Travis. Travis Taylor talked about it.
Yep.
And I wanted to bring him up in a little bit.
Okay.
But have you guys been paying attention to his little beef with the New York Post guy?
Yeah,
it's so funny.
I have seen it.
So
I've
funny.
seen. I've only caught bits of it over the last couple of days, but yeah, that's on Twitter, Mike.
Yeah.
There's it's Travis Taylor.
Yeah,
to be fair,
whatever that guy is, what is his name from the New York Post? Greenstreet.
Yeah, Stephen Greenstreet.
Dude, he is so pretentious.
He sounds like a prick. I'm not
He's
gonna lie.
he does. He sounds like a fucking prick. And like he has such a gripe with the whole OSAP and ATIP program and anything like skin, and then he's basically calling out Travis Taylor for for basically being a grifter to the community, labeling him with, because Greenstreet doesn't like Lou Elizondo. He thinks they're all frauds. And he labeled Travis as one of those too. And Travis is one of the most decorated astrophysicists in the country. So yeah, he does the circuit. Yeah, he makes money off of the community, but so does everybody else. By making videos, you're grifting the community to some degree, right? You want their money in exchange for your time.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody does it.
An adjacent argument to exactly what you've just said, Ty, is the massive discussion in the mediumship community where people are like, well, if you really want to help people, you do it for free, and it's like, but it's still my time.
Right.
And,
Is electricity free? Last time I checked, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, life is not fucking free.
Yeah, exactly.
No. So in Stephen Greenstreet, I've just pulled up one of his tweets. Travis Taylor says that the paranormal skinwalker hitchhiker decapitated one of his chickens in Alabama at the exact same time that Eric Bard's Skinwalker Ranch Jeep shut down in Utah. And it's just shit like that. They've got this proper beef going on backwards and forwards.
Very, 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 very proper.
He sounds like one of those dudes.
Have you heard of Mick West?
Yeah.
Mick West.
Yep.
Mick West, yeah, that kind of character on Twitter. He's an English guy who debunks things.
He sounds like one of those sort of dudes who could have the most compelling paranormal experience any human being could ever have, and he'd always find a reason as to why it wasn't, or like he'd be like, "No, it couldn't have been though. It was the wind or something," you know.
Yeah. And listen, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I made fun of swamp gas the other day. What a terrible fucking excuse that was. But Stephen Greenstreet, now mind you, like he is very talented at what he does, right? Very, very talented. But I think he's picking the wrong fight right now. Because, you know, there's always like those few people who want to go against the grain. And, you know, he's very much one of those people that is right now going against the grain, right? Like, I found this other idiot, Truth Seeker, right? He, maybe he's not an idiot. I shouldn't say that. But he's very out there. And you know, he's trying to say James Fox, is basically running a propaganda campaign for Moment of Contact. Should be called Moment of Profit. Like all this shit, and it's like there's always got to be a couple people that just ruin it for everybody, right?
Dude, this is the fucking wrestling argument, right? We're back in the WWE era, the Attitude Era. There was parents moaning like fuck that, oh, it's too violent on our TVs, this, that, and the other. It's like, you are a parent, turn the television off. You have responsibility for your children and what they
you don't
watch.
have to pay fucking $50 for the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
you're the one who's doing that and then complaining.
Absolutely. And it's just like, fucking, if you don't like it, fuck off. Don't.
Yeah. Exactly. There's a lot of people that don't, and they just go, well, actually, I'm going to take this fight.
Yeah.
And,
or there's the other sort of people who don't like something or just go, yeah, whatever, and ignore it, which is fine. Yeah. Like,
and like I said, if you watch that video that Steven made about OSAP and ATIP, a lot of the shit that he points out definitely need to be addressed by people like Lou Elizondo, by people that were in the program that are willing to talk, because he does bring up some pretty fucking valid stuff, but he frames it in a way that even the people that do think like me and they're like, okay, there's just some justification to the question, they still turn away from him just because your pompous attitude.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't want to deal with someone like you.
Trying to convince people by berating them, and it's like it's never going to work.
The challenge I have with people like that is that once I've made my opinion of that kind of person, no matter what they say in the future, I would never accept.
You're never going back, are you?
No, that's it. It's like, I don't like you, and I'll never like you. Yeah.
I'm with you, man. I hate to say it, but I am with you. I rarely have come across a human being who changes.
No, it's like if Piers Morgan donated a load of money to charity, he's still a cunt.
Right. He's still. Is that how you guys see him?
He's him and James Corden. Thank fuck you guys have got them.
Oh yeah, definitely James Corden. Glad you got him. Piers Morgan. Yeah, he's quite well hated in the UK.
Okay.
However, he does challenge people.
Yeah,
that's the one bit he's got on his side. He is a complete dick a lot of the times, but some of the stuff he's done has been okay. But the fact that go on.
This is the thing. You're right. People people should be able to challenge things and should be able to question things, but you've got to do it in like a respectful and a cognitive way. You can't just go, I'm challenging you because I think it's shit. Like the guy you were just talking about on Twitter who's going, this is bollocks because I don't agree with it. It's not constructive. Like if you want to challenge it and question things, it's like Joe Rogan always says, sit down and have a conversation about it. And that's how you actually make progress rather than just going, no, fuck you. I don't believe it, so therefore it's bullshit.
Yeah. And that's been the problem with UFOs and paranormal in the media. The media just see it as an opportunity to poke fun at it.
Just
a lot
a joke,
of the
isn't
time.
it?
It's a joke. And then when they come out and say stuff that people might be interested in, they're just like, well, not long ago you were like making fun of this particular topic. Like in the UK, there used to be a paper called
Daily Sport.
Daily Sport, that's it, and the Sunday Sport, and they put
Wow.
stuff up. Yeah,
Medium, huh?
yeah.
Oh
So
no,
they
no!
would-
The minute Greg said a paper, that I was like, yes, that one.
Yeah, definitely. They used to put stuff like saying, I was abducted by aliens and we lived on Mars and
Like the
shit
National
like that.
Enquirer.
The one you
Yeah,
said,
yeah, exactly.
The
National
one you
Enquirer.
said before, where it was like aliens turned me into a toffee crisp, which is a
Yeah.
chocolate bar here in the UK time, and it's like,
Yeah.
what are you on about?
Yeah, yeah. And so that's why over the years, certainly in the UK and worldwide, the media don't embrace it. And now all this stuff's coming out about UFOs and UAPs and the congressional hearings and the New York Times article. They're kind of starting to push their narrative that people do want to listen to it sensibly, but the damage is done. If you an article comes out in the Sun, for example, in the UK, basically people won't believe it. They'll go, well, it's in the Sun, so why would I believe that?
Right.
It's like it's the massive issue with, what was it, the New York Times, the Dave Fravor, Commander Dave Fravor video.
Yes.
After 50, 60 years of being told, oh, it's swamp gas, oh, it's this, that, and the other, blah, 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 to then try and attempt to start legitimizing it, people are going to go, well, nah, fuck off. Like, have you lied to us for 50 or 60 years? Or is this just another smokescreen to try and whatever, distract people from potential real issues, right? And it's madness.
Which is why they're sort of doing all the reports from 2004 onwards, which is the Tic Tac David Fravor one, because anything before that, if they acknowledge anything before that, they've screwed themselves because they've been lying about it for 70 years or whatever.
Have you seen did you see that apparently the JFK files were due to be released last year? They were due to be declassified last year, late last year, about this time last year, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh no, we're going to push back another 50 years or something. And it's like, the hell's in those files that you don't want the public to see?
Yeah, exactly.
Something sketchy is going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's proper. That's one of the fascinating cases.
Like, I have so you know, there's this whole other thing. I'm going away from the JFK part of it, but I think that is something that the people need to stand up and say, listen, what you're doing is illegal. Like, what the fuck is in there that you want to keep this buried? Like, because it's becoming very obvious you don't want this in the public eye. So what happened? Like, you know, we need to start demanding answers, if not asking. But
the funny thing about that is, since 2020 and that whole fiasco, COVID, the amount of people who are, I know it's a meme, but woke now.
Yes.
The amount of people who've started to actually start questioning things. And I've heard from a couple of people that apparently the whole spiritual movement, the paranormal movement, has just gone like that since 2020 for whatever reason. Is one of those things, and it did feel like, for better or for worse, it was like a cognitive shift for a lot of people. Even to the like base level, you look at how work's changed nowadays and how a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to work all the hours under the sun. I want to be able to be at home and spend time with my family. And exactly all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think this has been a shift. I think for all the bad that the virus did, it did a lot of good in the sense that I think it gave, you know, for many, for many years as I can remember personally, the world has always been going, right? It's go, 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 go. Finally, it's like Mother Nature or Earth or whatever cosmic thing was like, all right, you guys need to slow the fuck down. And they made us slow down.
Yeah.
And take a look at your life around you. And I think a lot of people are forced to do such. And we're like, I'm not happy with what I'm fucking doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree.
It's one of those, it's like, it's obviously on a much larger scale, but it's like when you lose a loved one who's close to you, and immediately you start to question your own mortality and start to actually try and reassess things and be like, do I really want to be working this fucking office job for the next 40 years? And it's one of those situations, but it was just on such a large scale because
I lost my mother during the fucking.
Oh, did you?
During
sorry to
the
hear that, man.
fucking
Yeah, sorry.
during that whole thing. So
Well,
I got like a double dose of whamminess in me, and look where it brought me. I literally just I just found a way to make a living doing all this. I can't talk necessarily about it yet, but my mom, like on her way out, said, at the time I was doing the pop culture show, but she saw how happy just doing this kind of stuff made me, how much happier I was, and she said, just don't ever let it go. Do what you want to do, and not what other people want. And the best thing I ever did was take that advice.
Yeah, man.
cool. Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Wise words. Yeah, definitely. I went to so part of my role in the company I work for is we do a lot of work with local schools and careers, giving careers advice.
Right.
And one of the which is a scary thought when I'm talking about UFOs and all that kind of stuff. So I go into these recruitment events and the kids go to me, oh, what university did you go to? I go, well, I didn't. They go,
Yeah.
oh, what A levels did you get? I go, well, I didn't. They go, oh, that throws all their questions out because they're always taught that they've got to do this particular. I said, look, your teachers will not thank me for saying this,
Right.
but just with your entry level exams, GCSEs in the UK, you can still get and do what you want to do. You've got to work a bit harder to get there, but you can do it.
Yeah.
And then one guy said to me, or one little kid said to me, what's the best bit of advice you could give me for when I go looking for a job? I was like, that's a good question. Anyway, he was like 13, so it was a good question. And I said, don't chase the money. Do what you love doing. Do what you love doing. Do what you love doing, and you'll get much more reward from your life by doing stuff. So we've been doing this podcast for 2 years now, and we've put one out every week for 2 years and multiple episodes a week. We're doing it stupid o'clock at night. We're doing it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just like fun all the time. Just having conversations like this just with people from all around the world, and we're just having fun.
There's no better feeling as well than like chasing truth and the way I see it is, I grew up say all right, so you're like, whenever you become cognizant as a kid, and I don't know how to phrase that correctly, but once you start having memories that you remember from that moment till you hit puberty, the world is one way, and then it radically changes, and then for many more years the world is, you think you figure it out again, and then you'll have an experience maybe like ours will get you into this, and the world isn't so black and white, and it's it's you're like constantly finding out things that are radically changing your world growing up, and I wish I got into this sooner because I feel like I would have such a better grip on some of these, maybe meditation, I won't even the possibilities of what I might have got into had I been set on a different path. But the world, the world isn't so black and white, and you learn that at some point in your life. I think everyone does, and that moment is pretty unique. And I think as a society, going back to what Mike said, I think there was a shift in people's you know, I think one of the first dominoes was that New York Times article, right? Like the confirmation that
Yeah.
these UFOs may actually be real. A lot of people, whether it turns out it's Chinese or not, a lot of people had the conversation with themselves. Fuck, UFOs are real. Like, what the fuck? What is that? What else is real? What else have I not given the chance? You know, the time of day. It's a pretty fucking wild thought to think
So
what's out there.
So we were discussing it at UFO Minicon recently, and the question come up, and it said, if UFOs are real, at what point do we have the conversation about abductions?
Yeah.
Because then you go, well, if abductions are happening, because there's thousands of reports of abductions, what about the paranormal? When will they say, you know what, we're aware of the paranormal? Because they've been studying mind control, remote viewing, telekinesis, everything. It's a thing that the US government's.
Yeah, they
You
love
know,
it.
the CIA, the MK Ultra program,
Yeah.
mind control. They had test groups, and what they discovered was obviously some people are quite gifted with psychic abilities and can do mind reading and stuff. But what they actually discovered is every human being on the planet has some base level of psychic ability, and if you're able to tap into it, that's the ones who can actually sort of ascend above and beyond.
Right.
And it's just like, you're right, stuff like that. You're like, what the fuck? Like, where does any of that come from? Like,
Yeah. And if the governments come out and say, okay, we've got some kind of psychic ability, you can pick up on these entities in your house. I think I've said it before, that looking up in the sky and seeing a spacecraft, for want of a better term, is one thing. But to have things moving around in your house that you can't see, you can't hear, you don't know where these things are, that's a whole nother level. And that whole poltergeist thing.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a line. I don't know
level.
if that's a line the government will ever cross. To be
No,
honest,
I don't think they will.
Because not only are you not safe ever, but you're not even safe ever, right?
Exactly.
Like we can't protect you from anything. Basically, is what we're saying.
Just a massive tangent and something. Greg's just reminded of what you're saying. You're obviously a Marvel fan, Ty. Have you seen Black Panther 2 yet?
No, I unfortunately have not.
Okay, Black Panther 2 is riddled with UFO, UAP cinematography. Like, there's stuff I'm looking at and I'm like, that looks very similar to like a spaceship coming out of the ocean, and then spaceships flying around and like essentially abducting people. And I was like, is this like one of those things where they show you it in a movie to get you used to it, and then later on they go, oh yeah, this is actually real, and blah blah blah.
Right. Well, the reason I haven't gone to see it is I even, you could go trace this back to like one of my earlier shows. I did not like the first one.
Okay.
It was like the first Marvel movie where I was like, I got the cultural appeal, why everyone freaked out, and I was, right on. Like, I want everyone to feel inclusive and all that stuff, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. And then, the only reason I would really go see this one in the theater, especially when things like Black Adam, Devotion, Avatar, those things are kind of hitting theaters. The reason I would have went and saw it was Namor, and they absolutely butchered and changed everything that's fundamental about the character, in my opinion. So it's just, this wasn't for me. Plus, Chadwick's gone. He was my main draw, and he's gone.
Yeah.
So I'll see it when it comes out on Disney Plus.
Namor is cool as fuck, though. I will say that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
As fuck.
I don't know what you're speaking about.
He's like he's the Aquaman of the Marvel world.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and he not shit.
So okay, then there's a question as we're talking films. What is your? Let me think about the question. What do you feel is the most realistic
Arrival
interpretation? Okay, yeah, okay. So
I've not seen that many.
Oh
really
God, you
bad.
gotta fuck, dude.
I saw Nope recently.
yeah, I've seen that.
And that-
See, like Ash,
Here we go. Here we go.
Not
Ash loved it.
realistic.
Ash loved it. Ash loved it. I watched it and I did enjoy it. I didn't
like the
but
ending
it was,
at all.
it just I don't like I didn't like Us. I didn't like Them or whatever it's called. So I didn't Jordan Peele, it didn't
Yeah.
really do it for me, his style. So
That's fair, man.
Nope was okay. I didn't mind it, but I wasn't wowed by it. But
There
Arrival,
was
you need to see Arrival. It's,
all right.
it's
I'll put it
brilliant.
on the list.
Amy
funny-
Adams.
Didn't
The
even
funniest thing is, Patsy, my partner, is shit scared of anything to do with aliens or UFOs or any of that sort of thing. But we went to see Nope because she likes horror movies, and we both like Jordan Peele movies.
Mhm.
And the entire time, from me knowing what I know, I'm watching it going, yeah, that's right. When he starts talking about, they're not called UFOs anymore, they're called UAPs. To
Yeah,
confuse it. I'm like,
That
yeah,
was
that's
quite
true.
cool.
And when he said about like, oh, it's that cloud hidden or whatever, the weirdest thing, I'd watched a Joe Rogan episode earlier that day where he talked about that exact thing about like a spaceship being a holographic cloud or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what
Right.
the fuck?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Synchronicity.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that would be a brilliant way to disguise yourself. You got to think like that would be brilliant. You know, you could pass through, you know, as quick or as slow as you want,
Mhm.
right? So I think that would be, you know, that plus the whole ocean thing, right? You at like being able to submerge and keep going. I think those two details I think are I think highly probable to be true if and when we find out it's all true, right? I think the fact that they're in the ocean and that's what maybe they hang quote unquote hang out, like that's where I'd go if I was trying to hide from you fucks. That's where I'd go.
There's
Right?
a quote I remember hearing where someone was like, only 5% of the world's oceans have been explored, and there was no reason, they couldn't find a reason why humans have this obsession with exploring space rather than our own planet. And it's like, is it the connotation of heaven and hell, or like
Yeah, it's a good point.
they were basically making an argument like, why aren't we researching the oceans more, something that's on our planet? But to be fair, if you've seen any deep sea creatures, it's freaky as fuck down there. So
Oh my
Yeah.
god, that's awful. I don't even like getting in the
Yeah.
sea.
when those fuckers start to go translucent because it's so dark, and you're like, what is that?
Yeah,
Giant
I don't.
squid. You only have to see an octopus swimming deep down. It's like that. If that's not an alien, I don't know
There
what
is
is.
there is a theory that they are potentially alien life forms because they're so
I would
Yeah.
say that they are.
They look it.
they're
they
also
look
cool
it.
as shit. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and they're
you know
intelligent.
when you go out in space,
massively.
for the most part, it's fucking empty,
Yeah,
right?
there's nothing there,
But
right?
then you go in the ocean, and that motherfucker is not empty. That is, it is full of
There's
freaky
lots
shit.
of things in there that want to kill you. and
Yeah,
eat you.
Wasn't it only like in the past 10 years they discovered a shark that had been existed since prehistoric times, and they'd only discovered it in the past 10 years because it lives
Mm.
so deep in the ocean.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, fucking
yeah.
hell,
We've been
there's a
getting
shark
to
down
a
here.
yeah. We've been getting to a different depth now,
Mm.
and there was just another one the other day where they found like 6 different species at the bottom of the Indian Ocean, like in the trenches, like like further down than we've ever gone. Once we got down there, we started finding all of these fucking things that you'd never seen before. Crazy to me. It's crazy.
So I've got another question for you guys. Do you think we can coexist with another species of human or another
Yeah, I see
species?
what you're
Like we currently do. So
No.
on this earth, no.
Look
Okay.
at how humans treat humans.
Oh yeah.
We can't even you look at all of the segregation in the world, and that this is doubled down by the fucking media as well. Right? I'm sorry, this is becoming an Alex Jones podcast, but
Isn't it?
but you look at how the media spin it as well. I can't really speak for America, but like Brexit, are you a leave or remain? And it's
Oh
division.
yeah.
COVID,
Division
and
all
you
the time.
mask or no mask, it's division. It's constant division. We can't even argue, and we fucking kill each other over fucking religion and oil. You imagine if you introduced another alien species into that were different to us.
I think you're going down the District 9 hole.
There's very District 9.
It would be the one thing I think that unites humanity would be a war with an extraterrestrial species.
That's the problem.
That
That's
is the
definitely
problem.
a problem.
Then we're fucking
If we
nuking
start
space,
shooting first and asking questions later,
Well, our country
that
doesn't.
is-
Our
yeah.
country doesn't. Maybe over with you guys.
yeah,
How
we
rude.
tend to shoot first, ask questions later, and that is
Exactly.
that is not something that we can abide by
No.
in that situation, especially because it's not District 9, right? These things are outmaneuvering us on the smallest scale.
You've seen
So,
Mars Attacks, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Come
That's
in
what
peace.
that's what it would be. That's what it would be. It wouldn't even
I
be
don't.
like
I have no doubt that it would unite us as a species, but I think then we would be forced. Like if we had to cohabitate, it's not a question anymore. Go ahead. You want to start try to divide and write fucking divisive articles about them. Who knows how that'll go over? If we try to pull that same human bullshit we do on them, who knows how that would go over?
Well,
I have no idea.
We would not be the apex predator at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
But then
and that's without even considering that it could be another race that would just turn up and fucking enslave us, and we wouldn't even have a say about it. They'd be like, "Cool,
Right,
you're now
right.
you're ants to us."
using us as batteries, a la Matrix.
What are they?
What-
Like human cattle or the useless eaters, as people
Yeah.
Yeah.
people call
Yeah.
humans.
But
You know?
consider this, that if that was the case and that they were going to come down and enslave us,
I know.
why haven't they done it already?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've poked so many holes in this whole thing that so of the main reasons, now we can come up with them together if you'd like, because I really like this this argument, because people are like, oh, they're fucking invading. Why? Say actually ask yourself why. The one reason that is the least the least bullshit still is laughable, and that would be the enslavement. Like they need slave labor, but if they're that advanced, you think they could create their own. They could create their own artificial intelligence that would be much more useful to them.
Have you heard the argument about the whole gold thing though?
Yeah, the Anunnaki situation.
Yeah, like gold is largely pretty useless to us. But yeah, we're obsessed with it as humans. And is it like an enslaving master race that it's really useful to? They're like, oh yeah, mine some fucking gold for us, will you? Yeah.
Yeah.
we could use that.
And I think it's a fair trade-off. They made us, and we had to get gold for them for a while. That's a fair trade. I didn't have to get gold; they did. So. If that's the case, say that's the one thing about First Contact, let's dub it that. I would be really interested to see if they're like, hey, by the way, we have all of your history recorded. So no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, you don't have to ask anymore, right? Like, did this happen? We know it. So they give us all that information. How did we get to where we are? I'd be really interested to know if there's a vested interest or not, is it truly evolution or, artificial, if you will? I would love for all that. But back to the whole other thing. So why would they come here? Why would aliens invade? Resources. Well, the hole in that is there's many Earth-like planets along the way that they could stop at. They wouldn't have to come here. So that argument makes no sense. If they wanted us, if they wanted to, enslave us, like I said, we talked about the artificial intelligence and artificial like robots that I'm pretty sure they could come up with first. So that doesn't really make sense. So really, what's left on the table for fun? Like just because they want to? Most of the reasons you can start to compile for hostile aliens, they don't really add up too well.
Have you heard that theory that it's like they kind of don't give a fuck, and a lot of the UFO sightings are just space tourism?
Yeah,
it's like
they talk to each other. They're
let's
like,
go
hey,
and
bro,
let's go
you
and
gotta go see Earth.
oh,
It's fucking crazy, dude.
it's kicking off in Ukraine, and that's why there's so many fucking UFOs, right? Because it's space tourism, and they're just like, wow, look at that, they're destroying
see.
each other.
Yeah, go and watch them. It's it's like
It's like a
UFC.
cosmic Disneyland.
Yeah,
Dismaland. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dismal
But
land,
but really, really think about it though. The Earth, it's we live on a fucking paradise, right? We live on this very, very oasis of different terrains and beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scenery. And like then you look at planets like Mars that are just, kind of constant with minor changes here and there. We're so lucky that we got what we did and that we're here when we are. So maybe that's why they're here, because they know that this place is special and it's like a stop along the road of these travelers. And I think that's the most likely scenario.
Or alternatively, like if water is a scarce resource from where they're from, right?
Yeah.
And like we've got a fucking abundance of it. And I mean that could tie into the fact that underwater whatever phenomena are a thing as well, right?
Yeah, but then again, didn't they just find a whole planet that had water? Like it was a whole giant water planet. So you got to think
Don't know.
maybe they could stop closer to them for
I
water.
want to say with the James Webb Telescope, they've identified something like 13 planets that have got Earth-like atmospheres and setups, like 13 planets that would be habitable by human beings, essentially.
Wow.
So yeah, like we're not the only one for sure.
We're not that unique, right? So like again, yeah, that's my thing. Is my thing is there's you could poke holes in all those not reasonings like poke holes in them, but you got to think it would be way easier for them than to come here to get slave labor or to get resources. So I think the more likely scenario is we're some sort of either gas station or like you said, or just we're some sort of stop on the cosmic highway of tours, things you got to see on the alien bucket list.
Yeah. But the other thing about this is this entire conversation about aliens or extraterrestrials. Where does things like the human consciousness fit in, and where does the idea of like the spirit?
I wish Greg had more time. I wish I would love to talk about. I think that we are essentially. I think consciousness came before the universe. I think consciousness started much like when you look at an electron, it acts differently. I think the whole let there be light or the Big Bang, right? Out of nothing became everything, right? All that sounds like when you shine a light on an electron, right? It acts a different way. So consciousness is the light. The universe is the electron, right? So what if we're just like when you take a radio and you fucking smash it into a million pieces, the signal's still coming through. That receiver is now gone, right? But the signal is still there. Who's to say consciousness isn't that signal?
How long have we got, Ty?
You and I have as long as you need.
Okay.
Greg has to leave in 5 minutes.
I thought we were going to wrap up. I was actually going to save this for the next time I was on Pursuit, but I'll explain it now. So like from the whole mediumship thing and trying to understand consciousness and this and that and the other, my theory is started to go towards what if, so consciousness to me is the biblical, what the Bible describes as a spirit. That's actually consciousness, right?
Right.
What if God is a collection of consciousness, like a pool of consciousness that exists somewhere else? What if our brains and elements of this pool of consciousness float down into humans? Or what I think more so, what if our brains aren't where our consciousness exists and all they are is receivers for consciousness that's somewhere else?
I started looking into this in the last couple of weeks, and I fucking it's changed how I perceive.
Scary.
Really, yeah.
I mentioned it briefly to Greg yesterday. And not wanting to go too deep. Like a couple of years ago, I was going through whatever and started to disassociate, and started to feel like I was outside of my own body while I was there on the sofa. This
Yeah.
was way before I was into any of the paranormal, and I'm like, is that a mental health issue,
Right.
or is that my consciousness starting to go, this is too much, pull you back a bit
Right.
and leave your
Right.
body to do its thing? And I'm just like, what
Yeah,
the fuck?
it's
Like,
I would love to pick this up one night. Maybe we could schedule something for next week. But dude,
Yeah,
'cause
sure, man.
I would love to dive into the whole is consciousness the key? I think it's the key. I think it's the
Let's
key
do
to
that.
everything. So
I'm up for that.
Greg, I know you gotta go, and where can they find you on the social medias?
You can go linktree.com /pursuit of the paranormal. That'll give you all of our socials. But generally, we are Pursuit of the Paranormal podcast on Insta, Facebook, Twitter. I'm Paranormal Greg T. Yeah, TikTok, Pursuit of the Paranormal, everywhere.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna pick up the TikTok again.
I have moments of it. I do.
I know
I do
it's
quite
so
like
hard to
TikTok. It's
stay.
all right.
The
Yeah.
moment I see a 12-year-old girl dancing, I'm like, oh god damn it! I delete it, and then like a couple months later, I'll go back. But thank you so much, man.
But when you see stuff on TikTok, you start seeing more of it because it's
Dude, it's
the
crazy. That's what I'm saying.
I'm
Like,
seeing lots of swingers stuff.
yeah, weird shit, right?
Swingers of
TikTok
TikTok.
makes me funny.
Don't
TikTok,
knock it, Mike. Don't
yeah.
knock it, Mike.
Is that because you're
TikTok-
living in a hotel and they're like, well, you spent a lot of time there?
Single, ready to mingle.
Fuck's
It's
sake.
it's targeting you because you've been in the same locations,
Yeah.
right? They do all their shit at the hotel. But Mike, where can they find? Where can they find you?
Sorry, I've lost it. So I'm Paramike primarily on YouTube channel about weird experiences I've had, weird stories, and mainly paranormal investigations. Articles on the Pursuit of the Paranormal. We kind of have a podcast when my partner can be bothered to do it. Yeah, socials.
You're always welcome. You're always welcome here. So,
Oh, thank you, man. That's
all
awesome.
the time. I love it.
Yeah,
anyone
Paramike.
can incite a deep conversation. I love that. I really do. It's my favorite thing.
We'll talk about quantum immortality next time.
All right, yeah. So,
You'll be like,
see?
what the fuck are you on about? But yeah, Paramike87 on Instagram, mainly YouTube and Facebook. Paramike.
All right,
I need
guys.
I need to get my subs up, so all go and subscribe.
Yeah, no, seriously, go subscribe for
definitely.
sure. And thank you both for being here tonight. And
Pleasure.
we'll definitely be doing this again soon. To the UK, dude, you guys are awesome out there. I love I'm starting to love the UK. The
like
audience
the
out there
weather.
is growing. Yeah.
The weather's shit.
Yeah.
All right, boys. We'll see you next time.
Speak
Catch
to
you
you
later.
soon.